Hey everyone, my name is Himang and I handle developer relations and integrations at Arcana Network. In this video, I'll give you an overview of how you can integrate the Arcana Chain Abstraction SDK in a real-world project. In this example, we have cloned the official Aave interface and integrated our Chain Abstraction SDK inside it. You can try it out in this URL, and you can also check out our code on this GitHub, and it's available at arcana-network/aave-ca. So without any further ado, let's dive into the code. Now, the first step would be to use the packages, and the package we have is arcana/ca-sdk, and this is the version we're using for now. And to start with, we have all the functions in this particular file, which is ca.ts inside src inside services. The first function we'll be using is the init function, and what it does is initializes the SDK, and it is called inside the use ca SDK auth function. And this function is called at web3providers.tsx file over in this line, yeah. And it is called over here because in the previous line in this particular file, all what Avid does is ask the user to sign in or auto sign in the user. So it makes sense to initialize the SDK after the account is connected. The next step would be to get the unified balances. And for that, we have the SDK function of get unified balances. It has various other parameters also. You can input about like the particular change you want the balance to be shown off. And this function is called inside the use balance function. And this use balance function is primarily called in the supply asset list file. And to show you it in the UI, it is this particular table. So the function called over here fetches all the values from this function, stores it in the CA balances variable, and displays all the unified balances on the available chains over here. Now that you have the unified balance, the next step would be to initialize the hooks. One is the allowance hook and the other is the intent hook. What these do is trigger this particular function written inside them as soon as the allowance is triggered, and in this case, as soon as the intent is triggered. And these are mainly to this allowance variable is just a variable to fetch all the information given out by the SDK inside a more meaningful way so that the UI can render it perfectly. Now, the next step would be to use the useBridge function, but before that, let me show you the UI. So right now I have, let's see, 15 USDC on base, and the unified balance is $52. So let me try something about 15, maybe $16. So I'll type in 16, and when I click this supply USDC button, in this particular function will be triggered inside the supply actions file. Yeah. So what this firstly does is fetches the unified balance and checks if gas is required. And for that, it sees if you have enough ETH to transfer to carry out the final transaction of transferring the tokens to Aave. And if you do have, then the gas is set to 0, like the gas calculated by us. But if you don't, then we factor in the gas amount also and also supply you with the gas with the amount of ETH required to substitute for the gas. So let me click this button now, and it will just show us all the intent values. So as I click this button, this particular intent hook is triggered, and what it does is it will show us the sources in this variable. So let's go back, and yeah, we have the sources and the fees. So we have this much USDC on OP, this much on base. What we need is this much USDC on base, and in the process we are paying this much fees, and this is the bifurcation, and in total we are spending this much amount of USDC. So as soon as I click confirm in the code, this particular function will be triggered. Let me go to it. Yeah, as soon as I click this function, it will carry out the use bridge function over here, and as soon as it is completed, this will then trigger the CA completed part, and then we'll move on to the regular Aave code, which was the action function, which carries on the supply transaction to Aave. So let's click confirm, and all these steps, and it will ask us to sign the message. And as you see, all these steps for loading, these are all provided using the event handler, which we provided over here. And what the event handler does is gives you a list of expected steps and update the status as soon as some step is done. So the developers can show the steps on the UI. So over here, we have these particular steps carrying out right now. And I think this is the final transaction to Aave. Yeah, you can see we are supplying 16 USDC and getting this. So let's confirm and wait for things to carry out. Yeah, as you can see, our transaction is done. If we click close, and we have supplied this much to Aave, and all of it has been deducted from our balance. So yeah, that was mostly it for the demonstration. If you want to check out the code, you can go to our GitHub on this URL and check it out on for yourself. As you can see, it is a fork of the original Aave interface on their GitHub. If you want to check out our project, this is of course available at aave-ca.versal.app. And if you want to start integrating and give a multi-chain experience to your users in a dApp, you can start with the documentation and the quick start guide. It will show you all these things step by step. So thank you. Thanks for watching.